Well, good morning. Back at it. Springfield's Morning News on WMAY, and tons to get to this morning, including what the Democratic leaders in Illinois are saying they need to have happen with migrants so that migrants can work in the state of Illinois and elsewhere throughout the country. But we got to get to the latest in the litigation against Illinois' gun and magazine ban, which there's several things that happened yesterday on the docket of some of these cases. But recall that we talked with attorney Thomas Magg, who had that first case he filed in Crawford County that was ultimately transferred to federal court. And that was a case that challenged the gun and magazine ban on several grounds. You had the Second Amendment argument, of course. That's an argument that is, ongoing and it's still held up in the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals, which is kind of getting a lot of people frustrated that we still don't have any resolution there. But you also have the vagueness claims that attorney Thomas Magg filed as part of his lawsuits, as well as Fifth Amendment arguments. But some of the latest here is important to delve into. Of course, you've got Thomas Magg in the conversation that we had with him yesterday, talking about the ability for him to argue in front of the Southern District Court that the law is too vague to be ultimately enforced based off of previous Supreme Court precedents.
Springfield Armory versus City of Columbus specifically will find that the firearm and magazine ban is, if not completely, is at least largely unconstitutionally vague.
So that vagueness argument, something he's going to push, and they've actually got a hearing that's set in the Southern District with Judge Stephen McGlynn October 11th. And here's the deal. This is a summary judgment hearing. All right, it's not based off of, a request for a preliminary injunction. This would be a summary judgment hearing. And for those legal eagles out there, that ultimately means that you're going to have this lawsuit brought on the merits, and the vagueness question going to be pushed at that October 11th hearing. And if there is a ruling for summary judgment for the plaintiffs, that would mean the law is struck down until it goes to an appeals court based off the vagueness issue. So again, just to recalibrate here, all right, the lawsuit against Illinois' gun and magazine ban in the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals right now, combined with the Southern District and the Northern District cases, in the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals right now, they're only dealing with the question of, does the gun and magazine ban violate the Second Amendment? All right, so that's that particular question. Does the gun and magazine ban violate the Second Amendment? That's in the appeals court. Back down in the Southern District Court, Magg has his case still there, but he's bringing another issue, the vagueness issue. And again, he says that it's too vague and unconstitutional for that reason. So he's going to be pushing that in that summary judgment hearing October 11th down in the Southern District Federal Court. And he also said that if the vagueness argument doesn't get a favorable ruling for the plaintiffs, Magg says he's going to then push for that Fifth Amendment argument that the law violates individuals' rights to not incriminate themselves, another Supreme Court precedent.
This particular Illinois registration requirement suffers from the exact same defects identified in Haney's 50-something years ago.
And that ultimately held that a provision of the National Firearms Act that required registration of certain guns to the IRS at that time, which eventually evolved in at least those operations to the ATF. But the big point was that the law didn't protect those individuals who registered from that information being used against them. And that issue was found to be unconstitutional and a violation of the Fifth Amendment. So again, you've got another challenge that Magg could bring forward. And why is this so important? Because we've got that January 1st deadline to act on this. Because if you are a owner of a certain semi-automatic firearm, if you don't register your firearm by January 1st, then you're going to ultimately be found criminally liable if you're found with a semi-automatic firearm outside of that registration. So that's at least the trajectory that we see most recent. An October 11th court hearing on the vagueness issue for summary judgment. And then if that doesn't work, a Fifth Amendment argument against the gun and magazine ban. Not the only case that Thomas Mag has. He also has a case that deals with the FOID card. And yesterday we talked about how the state police requested a second extension on answering, and looks like they were granted that second extension in the federal court, Southern District, of a lawsuit challenging the FOID card and also the venue limits bill, which we've talked about before as well. So this extension request, Mag says, seems to be par for the course when it comes to the Illinois Attorney General's office.
It really is justice being delayed, thus resulting in justice being denied. But eventually we will win, I'm quite certain.
Now, Mag also, he's challenging that law that limits the state-level challenges of constitutional questions of state laws to only 2 of 102 counties, and he says that is unconstitutional, his claim is.
I mean, Illinois is continuing to violate their citizens' constitutional rights, and most of these persons don't live in Cook County or anywhere near it, and most of the citizens of this state don't live in Sangamon County, i.e. Springfield.
So Mag, again, has this case, right? So this is separate from the case challenging the gun and magazine ban. In the case Gary Myers versus Brendan Kelly, that challenges the FOID card and the venue limits stuff. But yesterday, the judge overseeing the case changed twice. This was interesting to see on the docket that the magistrate judge, Rana Daly, was replaced with Judge Mark Beatty. A separate order Wednesday replaced Beatty with Judge J. Phil Gilbert. So there were 2 judge changes just yesterday on the case that Mag has, challenging the FOID card and the venue limits bill. So that's some other actions that happened yesterday on the federal docket. But you also have the case challenging the state's law allowing for the state or individuals to sue the firearms industry for how they advertise or for allegedly making the public less safe. In that Southern District federal challenge, we had a judge change. All right, so Judge Beatty was replaced with Judge Stacy Yandel. Now, this is interesting because Beatty was the original judge assigned to the case, brought by the National Shooting Sports Foundation, but was then replaced by Stephen McGlynn, who's overseeing the challenge of the semi-automatic and magazine ban. But then McGlynn was then replaced by Beatty, who, as of yesterday, Beatty was replaced by Yandel. I know it's a lot to take in, but obviously this is how the courts work, right? An indication is that McGlynn is handling the semi-automatic firearm ban. So they wanted somebody else to handle the challenge of the state law allowing for lawsuits against the firearms industry. So a lot happened yesterday on the docket after we got off the air, so I wanted to get you all that update. And again, just to recap here, Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals still has the gun and magazine ban. No question as to when that argument on the Second Amendment will be released, or the opinion will be released. So you've got that in the Seventh Circuit. But same set of cases, Thomas Maggs back in the Southern District October 11th with a summary judgment hearing on a vagueness challenge of the ban on semi-automatic firearms and magazines. If that doesn't work, he says he's bringing a Fifth Amendment argument to challenge the gun and magazine ban. So that's where we're at with the challenges against the state law Protect Illinois Communities Act. But Mag has that case challenging the FOID card and the venue limits law, and that had some judge changes and a granting of a second extension for Illinois State Police to respond. And then you've got the National Shooting Sports Foundation's case challenging state law of going after gun industry individuals or companies for allegedly making the state less safe, or for how they advertise to children, or for, quote, illegal paramilitary or militia activity. And we had judge change there 3 times yesterday. So a lot of things happening. We'll do what we can to keep you updated on all of that and more. I'm Greg Bishop. Thanks for hanging out at Springfield's Morning News on WMAY 620.